Now, most of us who are into philosophy or self-improvement have heard of Friedrich Nietzsche. Even if you're not into those things, he's a very popular philosopher. His works, if not understood, have been read or are at least recognized by many people. You show someone the book Beyond Good and Evil, and they will probably recognize the author before even reading his name at the bottom. The thing is, though, most people regard Nietzsche as, or have regarded Nietzsche as a nihilist philosopher. They've regarded him as his philosophy as a nihilistic one. When in reality, if you read what he wrote, if you read what he focused on, what he said about nihilism, you'd see that he, like many other philosophers, was strictly opposed to the idea of nihilism. Nihilism is the belief that there is no objective meaning in life. So instead of believing in something like a deity, for example, which says that somebody created the earth, created the universe for humanity, that we go to heaven after we die, that the purpose of life is to serve God, the nihilist says that life has no objective meaning, that there is no purpose in existence, that you are just a natural product of evolution, like everything else in the universe. And the problem with this philosophy, as stated by not just myself, but many other philosophers and great thinkers, is that if it were to spread on the societal scale, meaning that if it grew to such a level of popularity that the masses believed in nihilism, it would cause a slow dying out of the meaning in life, of the purpose for existence. And as a result of not having any purpose, humanity would slowly just rot and decay on this planet. It wouldn't be achieving any great goals. It wouldn't be making progress towards evolution, towards mental evolution, towards becoming smarter, more intelligent, and kinder. But rather, we would become sedentary. We would become angry, spiteful. The purpose of existence, if not there, would lead to this mass depression. The existential dread that usually precipitates the nihilistic mindset is one of the scariest, most life-changing experiences one can endure. Not only does it cause you to question what the meaning of life is, but it questions everything you've believed up until that point. It shakes the foundation of your existence. And if you can't answer the question life gives you of, what are you here for? Life suddenly becomes devoid of purpose and meaning. It's this existentialism that causes the purposelessness of nihilism. Without meaning, life is meaningless, and thus the individual in question does not go on living life the way he should or could be, not because he can per se, but because he cannot figure out why he should. The threat of nihilism, then, is that it threatens to show the individual that, for one, there is no objective purpose or higher meaning in life, and that secondly, the universe was not created with him or humanity in mind. To further solidify that meaning is absolutely fundamental, we can look at Man's Search for Meaning, a book by Viktor Frankl in which he uses his experiences in psychotherapy and the Nazi concentration camps to argue for a will to meaning rather than a will to pleasure or power. That is to say, Viktor Frankl is using this book to say that the most fundamental thing of all, the thing that conscious beings naturally gravitate towards and naturally require from life, is a purpose for living. And in this book, he uses, he speaks of instances where prisoners are still able to cling on to their morals and values despite their external circumstances of starvation, disease, death, dehumanization, from the tattooing on their arms to the daily beatings they get while being sent out to work. For 3 reasons, I believe that this justifies a will to meaning. Firstly, the will to pleasure and will to power would have been dissatisfied at a near constant throughout one's stay within these camps. Secondly, the inner void that Frankl says most prisoners could not overcome is proof that there is a will to meaning. Because if there were not a will to meaning, one could not experience the inner void. And lastly, the fact that people are able to triumph despite the starvation, despite their external conditions, is proof that there must be an inner source of strength that we can always pull from at any moment. Frankl contends that the only way one could survive the concentration camps was by finding a meaning in your suffering. If you could not see a higher purpose or mission to accomplish, if you could not see the person you love or life you'd wish to return to, if you could not see the suffering itself as your personal burden to bear, as your reason for existing, there would be no reason to continue. There'd be no purpose in enduring suffering. In fact, it's the hopelessness that comes from not having a meaning in suffering that caused so many prisoners to give up, to just sit and wait, smoke their cigarette and wait to be gassed or to be executed by firing squad. It was the hopelessness that comes from not having a purpose in suffering that led to so many people just giving up on life. No amount of power or pleasure would suffice as much as having a reason to endure. And it's the necessity of this reason that prompts us to ask the burning question of not only prisoners, but of humans as well. For what am I suffering? For what am I living for? As fundamental as meaning in life is, avoiding nihilism might be the worst thing we can do. And in fact, nihilism is the first step in finding meaning. And we can use the process of finding meaning to understand this in greater detail. The first step to finding meaning is have the predestined path. This is essentially the route in life that you are being set on from childhood. You're having beliefs planted into your head by your parents, by school, by all these external influences. You have these artificial goals and desires that are also being planted into you by other people. And the trajectory of your life is essentially being decided for you rather than by you. Most people, although there's a small minority of people who are satisfied with the predestined path or the conventional route that most people take, the majority of us aren't. The majority of us find this unfulfilling. The majority of us do not like the predestined path, the conventional route. And so that leads to the second step, which is have the epiphany that you don't like what you're doing. Now, if you've read The Millionaire Fastlane by MJ DeMarco, he speaks about this one event in your life called your FTE, or your fuck this event, which is basically when you have an experience, when all the bad habits that you've been doing throughout your life compound into a single moment and you face all the consequences for what you're doing. So it could be a very bad day, right? You go to work and you get fired. Then your girlfriend breaks up with you. And then you open your fridge and there's fucking nothing to eat except like ketchup, mustard, and a few hot dogs. You realize that none of your friends are there to help you. That you call up your online friends and none of them help you because they either live states away or they just don't give a shit about you. That day is the FTE for someone. It's the day where you say, okay, I can't keep living like this. This life is so unfulfilling. I need to do something. It's unbearable. I need to take action and change something. And it's this necessity for action which leads to the third step, which is create your own meaning. It's deciding for yourself what you're going to do in life. It's deciding for yourself how you're going to find fulfillment, what you're going to dedicate your time to. From here on out, life is now in your hands. You are now the person who is in control rather than simply being a byproduct of influences. Now, the reason I call attention to this process is because if you realize if you really pay attention to what these steps are, you notice that nihilism is fundamental in creating meaning. Because in order to say what your purpose is, in order to create your own meaning in life, you need to first accept that there is no objective meaning in life. You need to first accept that paradise rests in the palm, that the purpose of your life is wholly in your control, and that there is no deity that is here to guide you, that there is no objective purpose created by society or by God or whatever else. To create your own meaning, you must first accept that there is no meaning. And that is why nihilism is fundamental. All these people are saying, all these philosophers and people who follow philosophy, they think that nihilism is this horrible thing that we must avoid. But it's funny, because when you experience existentialism, you are literally at the gates of purpose and fulfillment. You are right there. You just need to keep going forward and not listen to your desire to give up. That's why existentialism is so dangerous. Nihilism as a way of life is certainly not sustainable. It's certainly not good. But nihilism as a step is what we need to be focused on. Nihilism as a part of life is what we need to focus on. Because existentialism is good. It's okay to feel like you don't know what your purpose is. It's okay to feel like life is meaningless, like you don't know what you're doing this for, this is natural. It's okay to grapple with these problems for a bit. We've made the mistake of treating existentialism like a disease rather than a natural function of the human mode. Understanding that nihilism is a fundamental part of the process, we can use this knowledge to create our own meaning. Firstly, I want to cover some things that I feel essential to finding meaning in life. I want to cover some things that I feel I must speak about before I get to how nihilism connects to it all and what to expect. Firstly, the meaning in life, the task of each individual, is wholly unique to that individual. So, if you ask me for the meaning of your life, I cannot help you. Because although I can tell you how to find meaning, what that meaning is itself, it must be decided by you. So you must ask yourself, if you want to find meaning, you must ask yourself what you believe in, what actions that belief requires of you, and how you ought to fulfill that mission, how you ought to make this belief a reality. Secondly, you can find meaning in three main areas of life. Firstly, work, a physical task that you do. It can be being a politician, making YouTube videos, spreading education, going to these other countries and helping people with their humanitarian crises. It's a physical thing that you do. Secondly, experiencing the beauty of life, experiencing love, the truth as a philosopher or teacher, the experiencing kindness. Basically, experiencing life is the second way to find meaning. This is why so many people, they find a lot of fulfillment in traveling and exploring, because the purpose of their life is to experience the world and the contents of it. And thirdly, you can find meaning in your suffering. Now, I know that last one can be a bit confusing, because you might be thinking, oh, well, if I have meaning in work or love, wouldn't I be able to overcome my suffering? Wouldn't that mission that I want to accomplish be my reason for enduring? And yes, this is true. But when I say finding meaning in suffering, I mean seeing the suffering itself as your personal burden to bear. So think of it like in the sense that a parent, right, if their kid is about to get hurt, or if there's a task, that it's very painful to do, how they'll step in and do it themselves and receive the pain instead of having their kid go through that. In the same way, finding meaning in your suffering is having the mentality that, okay, yes, this hurts. I am suffering, but I am suffering so that other people don't have to. I am suffering in the place of those who would not be able to handle it in the same way I can right now with my knowledge of philosophy, of stoicism and all that. Suffering, finding meaning in suffering, is all about bearing the burden of suffering without complaint and selflessly. Lastly, the meaning of life must be decided outside the confines of society, because everything that's fulfilling is only in synchronization with nature. It connects to a higher purpose other than just fitting in, other than just what the people believe in. You know, it's more than just, oh, philanthropy and like all this stuff we consider good. Meaning in life is so much deeper than that. It's so much more real than that. Because this isn't like, the meaning in life is not just like an abstract concept. It's a real thing. Like, it's a very real thing. It's why we experience the existentialist void. Because the meaning in life is not just a theory. It's a thing that we are in need of. It's a thing that, right as you watch this video, you are searching for it. Right? It's the number one motivator for action, for doing anything. So, to find this meaning, you mustn't ask yourself what society believes. You mustn't even consider it. What you must do instead is you must think to yourself, what do I believe is moral? What do I believe must be done? What do I believe humanity needs? With my knowledge, what is the task that I must set out to do? For your actionable step, spend the next few days in solitude and ask yourself what the meaning of your life is. If you're doing YouTube, if you want to be productive, whatever you want to do, this other bullshit, forget about it. The entire day, for the next few days or even for a week, ask yourself, what is the meaning of my life? Journal the entire day, only stopping to eat if you really have to. And like I said before, this process is not going to be easy. It's not going to be, you might be trying to expect something. I'll tell you what to expect. If you're trying to think of what this is going to feel like right now, if you're trying to picture it in your head, I'll tell you what it's going to feel like. You're going to sit there writing, and you're not going to have a fucking clue what the answer is. You're going to look at this paper blankly with a blank stare, and you're not going to know where to start. You're not going to know how to answer these questions that I'm asking you right now. Like, what is the meaning of life? If I were suffering, what would I be suffering for? You won't know how to answer these questions immediately. And this is when you'll feel the nihilistic tendency towards existentialism, where you'll feel like, oh, fuck, man, I have no direction in life. It's just so frustrating. It's so frustrating that I'm trying to find the meaning of my life and I have no fucking clue what I'm living for. That's good. Like I said earlier, this is an inevitable step in the process of finding meaning. So do not listen to that desire to simply give up and get frustrated and you throw your pen and journal and you have an outburst. Instead, accept this as a process, as a part of the process. Accept it as something that you are going to be faced with inevitably. Accept it as something that you just have to push through, to trudge through. Right? Trudging through the snow, as they say. And once you find what the meaning of your life is, you won't have to deal with this existentialism. You won't have to ask yourself what the meaning of your life is, because you already know. You already know what you're living for. So now, when you are enduring hardship or when you are suffering, you don't need to be like, oh fuck, this sucks, this is for nothing anyway, everything sucks, why am I not just happy all the time? Instead, you'll be like, okay, my life sucks right now, yeah, but I have this higher purpose to look forward to. I have the future to think of. to meditate on. I can pull strength from the core purpose of my existence, and I can feel secure knowing that if someone were to ask me what I'm living for, I could tell them exactly what I'm living for. I could tell them exactly what I believe. And as a supplement, while you're meditating on this, you might even want to pick up Answers for Meaning and read it yourself, because this book has 2 sections, and I have it up here on the shelf. This book is incredibly powerful. It's incredibly powerful. It is one of the best books I have ever read. It's split up into 2 sections. It's split up into the first one, which is his biographical section. He's talking about what the camps were like. And in the second one, he talks about logotherapy, the will to meaning. He talks about existential frustration, eugenic neurosis, all these concepts, all these actionable steps. This book is full of action. It tells you, it gives you maxims and steps for finding meaning, steps for finding purpose in life. It connects everything and makes it make sense. So I really recommend, the link is in the description. There's no affiliate. It's just a link for Barnes & Nobles. If you want to pick this book up, please do so. With that, I can conclude this video. Thank y'all for watching. I'm late as fuck to the gym, so I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna edit this while I do my squats or deadlifts, whatever. I hope this video was valuable to you. If you did enjoy it, please like, subscribe, comment, interact with the video so it gets pushed into the algorithm. I also have my Medium page where I post the script form, the article form of these videos either a day or even a week in advance if it's a full guide. So if you want to get access to more content and these videos earlier, all for free, then you can go check that out. Link in the description. And yeah, that's all. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.